Hello, viewers. I'm Anne-Marie Spencer, and welcome to our newest episode of Good News in Parks, where we welcome 3 leading park and recreation directors to share their initiatives, opinions, and good news in parks. Together with my co-host, Jody Adams, we will be asking our panelists questions about programming, facility usage, budgets, and partnership, and more. We'll get you all involved with a couple of poll questions and ask you to share your questions for our panel using the Q&A tab in your Zoom control. So at any time during the program, please list any questions that you may have, and we'll be choosing from those questions at the end. Obviously, we probably won't get to all of them, but we do want to answer as many as we can. We're also going to take some time for each of our panelists to cascade accolades and recognize a person or team within their department, because as we all know, it takes team efforts to move initiatives forward, and our 3 panelists today have some great news to share about their individual teams. So let's introduce them to you. Jody, take it away.
Good afternoon, colleagues and friends out there. Anne-Marie, thank you. We've got a great group today, and again, thank you so much for your valuable time. First of all, I'd like to introduce Inger Erickson. Inger's newly appointed Deputy City Manager of City of Phoenix and past Parks Director for the City of Parks and Recreation for the City of Phoenix. She's also a past Board of Trustees for NRPA, and she will play a key role in Phoenix hosting the 2022 NRPA National Congress. Woo! Inger, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jody.
Alicia Bradford. Alicia is the Director of Wayne County, Michigan Parks and Recreation Department. She has served on various NRPA and national committees over the years, and she's also the past director or past president of the National Parks and Recreation Ethnic Minority Society. Alicia, thanks again and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you.
And number 3, Rick Atkins. Rick is the Director of Round Rock, Texas Parks and Recreation Department. He serves as a judge for the American Academy and affiliate partner of NRPA for the Excellence in Management Gold Medal Award. And thank you, Rick. That is a great and tough job. Thank you. He is also a fellow member of the American Academy of Parks and Recreation Administrators. Rick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jody. Truly appreciate being here with my peers.
You bet. Let me go ahead and update our audience before we enter into our first question with our panelists. We've been getting a lot of great feedback from you in the field. And again, we have several hundred people on this episode from all over the United States and internationally. So let me dive right into one of the aspects that keeps coming up on our feed of questions. 10 days ago, the president did sign Land and Water Conservation Fund bill into legislative law. Thank you for our Congress and our current administration for them to move forward with fully funding the Land and Water Conservation Fund for over $900 million on a yearly effort. With that said, our audience has also asked questions. What does that look like? Let me give you a couple of tidbits. You may not know this, but again, it depends on if you've worked with Land and Water Conservation Funds in the past. The first part of this is the stateside program. That is the ground-up approach that's provided in matching grants directly to states, counties, and local governments of parks and recreation and open space projects. The second aspect of Land and Water Conservation Fund is the federal side, and that is the program that conserves lands for national parks, national rivers and trails, and national forests, plus national wildlife refuges. I just want to make sure we're clear on that because I've been asked on details of what does that mean. So that hopefully will help you with that. And then finally, just for your information, it doesn't matter if you're in rural America or if you're in an urban area or just mid-size America. This Land and Water Conservation Fund is for all of us in the field. So please don't hesitate to research and get with your states because that money will be coming down from the federal government with working with the National Park System and then feeding into your state parks area and then moving into our local. So don't be hesitant to ask questions, but it doesn't matter if you're a small rural community. That has been a myth in the past that you are not maybe eligible for this money. You are. So again, I want to put that out there. 98% of the counties in America have received land and water conservation money over the years since 1965. So that gives you the latest and greatest to make sure that we update everybody on those questions. Okay, let's move into the question aspect of this with our panelists. And again, we mentioned this, but I want to make sure we emphasize, not only from your feedback, but also from Kevin Roth's research of snapshots. We actually get a lot of our questions from that in our audience. So we want to keep it relevant. So let's move right into the fall. As far as current right now, over 43% right now of people are actually in agencies are coordinating their parks and recreation partnerships with schools right now. So your local school districts are also coming to us for those type of support systems that we can offer through our local agencies. They are actually asking right now for consulting with the Parks and Recreation for expanded childcare at this point. They're also offering and asking for more space from our Parks and Recreations. So again, it's very, everything from outdoor classrooms to activities to recreation centers and for classrooms. I love real shows. Isn't it great? Live, we're living it. Then third, we have the local agencies that are asking for the expertise of our actual park and recreation staffs and personnel to help with educational environments, outdoor education, and physical education, music, and arts. So I set that forward because this is current. You all are living it. So let me get to my first question with you as panelists. Heading into fall, schools are opening in person and virtually nationwide. As of this moment today, how is your department going to approach programming, services, and facility usage? Rick, we're going to start with you.
Well, you know, it's for us, I think you nailed it. It's really working with the school district is part of it. We do a lot of programming with them. So now we're shifting to pulling those back to our parks and other avenues. And that's, you know, while it's fun, it's also challenging. We're taking our volleyball program outside. It's become sand volleyball instead of indoor volleyball, which is a great deal for us. We're doing a lot of shifting as well. Our after-school program is now not an after-school program. It's an all-day program because of the options that parents are now getting to either take their kids to school or allow them to work from home. And those that are working from home, we are now providing swim lessons during the day. We're doing activities during the day so that these kids are not just cooped up in the house all the time. Our senior programs have shifted to more of a self-led and not group congregate programs anymore. You know, we started doing reservations for pools. So things have shifted so drastically, but we're finding that our residents truly appreciate them, that they value them. And every time they come in, they tell us, thank you for being open. And shifting the model so that we have a COVID plan to deal with everything that we have going on. And then one of the biggest ones I don't want to leave out is our adaptive programs. That need for those parents that have those have that adaptive need is tremendous. And we've seen that those numbers have stayed close to 100%. So it's finding a way to deal with the situation to make sure you keep social distancing.
You know, Rick, that is amazing. To make that type of shift on a dime, that just says a lot for your staff. So way to be prepared and way to execute. Thank you. Inger.
Thank you, Jody. So we're a little bit different here in Phoenix. Our council early on made decisions not to open swimming pools and a wide variety of our facilities. So we're not open in a lot of regards. We do have our parks have stayed open. For just people coming to do the things that they wanted to do. We have closed down restrooms and things of that nature. But what we've been doing, we were able to deploy a lot of our resources to other city services. So there was no one laid off. Everybody found an opportunity to do other things. The census was one. Day respite, because it is extremely warm in the city of Phoenix. We've had more days over 110 this year than we've had ever. And it's just, it's a really hot time. And we also have day camps for not only our employees, kids, but also for our low-income housing. The city of Phoenix has quite large low-income housing that the city runs. And so we did a lot of activities through those programs. And when school then decided that right now nobody's gone back to in-person, maybe on the 17th, maybe not, we're not sure. Some may, some may not. And we have 26 different school districts in the city of Phoenix. And so every school district might make a different decision, but we're really looking at the metrics here in the city and looking at our local metrics to make those decisions on how we're going to either slowly open things up. Again, we're not going to be offering programs in schools if we can't offer them in our own facilities, but we have other options for people to do. We're doing a lot of virtual programming, which a lot of people are doing as well. We've stayed connected to some of our adaptive programs through virtual programming. In some cases also, we've actually taken supplies to the homes, socially distanced, masks, all the things that are appropriate, and given kids tools to then go on virtual programming. And the last thing I'll say is with some of the CARES Act money, we've been able to add Wi-Fi to our facilities. So even if people can't go into the facilities, it extends out into the park. And so people can come, if they don't have the great digital divide that we have, if they can't come into a facility, there's at least access to the internet outside the facility. Hopefully you can find a shade tree or a Ramada or something to get under, because again, it is extremely warm in Phoenix.
Well, and Inger, I've really kept up with you because I really wanted to see how you were administering through the park system and just navigating the waters. You've done it. I've seen you keep open the parks, and it's been amazing to watch you navigate those situations, even with the heat. So again, way to go. Alicia, it's your time.
Thank you, Jody. I mean, it's wonderful to be on these panels because I get to learn some additional things from my colleagues as well. But at Wayne County Parks, we have 5,300 acres of green space. We have limited amount of facilities. We usually provide majority of our programming outdoors. We have an interpretive center and a marsh of interpretive center where we do most of our nature and environmental and programming with our naturalists. As Ingrid indicated, our county exec made those same decisions, and our health department director of not reopening those facilities. So we've been, like my colleagues have stated, reimagining how we're presenting those type of programs to our community. So we've pushed some of it to the outdoors. The naturalists that we do still have available after staff reductions has been doing a lot of virtual programming, just giving history of the area, the history of animals, various topics that we think that would be informative, would just keep individuals engaged and know that Wayne County Parks is still providing a level of programming services. So when the fall comes in, we've done outreach over the years. We've gone into schools. We've had them come to our site as well. So of course, as Rick said, what their team is doing as well, we'll be doing and continuing a lot of that outdoors as the weather permits. We'll be doing some engagement with those schools that have determined that they will be having some in-class session, practicing all the CDC guidelines and social distancing. And then transition, as we've worked with educators in the past, of determining curriculums that they'd like to fit into their programs and looping into their remote sites and plugging in our virtual programming in their topic of discussion. So again, we're still providing a level of services. We're just doing it differently and had to done so and adjust as quickly as we possibly can just to make sure that we're still serving the community as we've done in the past.
Alicia, you've been so inspiring. I've known you over the years. You've been a director with Detroit. You've been all over. You're a longtime resident of your area. Thank goodness you have been there, because you make decisions because of your experience is so many years of great ingrained into the community, very deeply in your neighborhoods and everything, it's making a difference. And again, keeping up with all of you, and that's why you're on the show, is you all are doing innovative things right now that is leading the country. So again, thanks again, Alicia, Inger, and Rick. Let's move on to question number 2. Number 2, budgets are strained. We know that. Personnel can be limited during these times in our departments across the country. When it comes to social equity, how are you balancing the wants and needs of your citizens throughout your city and county? And is there a model? Is there a process you go through of evaluation? Just let us know how you are addressing social equity throughout your responsibilities to the community. And let's go ahead. Inger, let's start out with you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So again, I think a lot of our virtual programming that I talked about earlier, and again, giving individuals the tools, again, the CARES Act was a great opportunity for us to give some of our youth in the housing projects some tablets so that they could do schoolwork or could get to the Parks and Recreation programs. So we gave over 800 tablets out to families in those different areas. And again, wouldn't have been possible without that funding source. And again, I think there's a lot of positive there. The other thing that we're very fortunate in the city of Phoenix is we have the Parks Preserve Initiative funding. And so we've got many of our facilities that are between 50 and 60 years old, and we haven't done a lot of improvements. But through that funding source, we're going back, especially into mini parks or pocket parks, as people might call them, and upgrading those parks. Many of those areas did not have grass, didn't have turf. And again, they're in the low income areas and in the areas that maybe the social equity conversation is really the highest in. And we're able now to add a turf into those parks and really update those amenities, which haven't been updated for many years. Again, we're very fortunate that's a voter passed initiative that will go until 2030. And we get about $30 million a year, not only for flatland parks, but our mountain parks. And if you've been to Phoenix, or if you're not familiar with Phoenix, we have mountain parks in all areas, the north part of Phoenix, the south part of Phoenix, and the central part of Phoenix. And you can get to a hiking trail within 15 minutes from anywhere in the city of Phoenix. And so we have seen an increase by 113% in people hiking our trails because that was one of the things that was available.
Wow.
The other thing we've seen is, again, I've mentioned, and everybody knows it's hot in Phoenix, and our golf program has actually gone up by 70% in the summertime, which is amazing. It's keeping us afloat because, there's no making money in golf. You just want to either break even or not lose very much. And so we've been able to offer some opportunities there also for people to take lessons and programs and things like that. So again, we're taking advantage of a bad situation, but people are finding trails and hiking, and that's something you can do for free and you can do your whole life. And there's various levels. We've got over 200 miles of trails in the city of Phoenix.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Thank you. Alicia, let's go to you.
So we have used our strategic master plan, our recreation plan is kind of like our guide when we look at doing improvements. But I think our team being definitely sensitive to social equity and making sure that there is equality across all of our green spaces in the county. And so we're looking at those underserved communities and looking at those areas where we need to do increased improvement. Our maintenance team does an excellent job, make sure the park is clean and safe. With all of, as a recreation professional, we want to engage people to come to our parks, but we want to make sure regardless of your tax base, your economic standing, that everyone is able to go to their park, which we know are connectors and hubs, that you have up-to-date park amenities, that you have clean green space, trash is removed. All of things are presented at the same level, regardless if you're residing in one sector where, and we know that predominantly our underserved are Black and brown communities, but it does not mean that they're not deserving of the same quality park system, same quality park amenities. preserving all across in those areas that may be of a higher tax bracket or higher tax income base. So that's been our guide, and definitely focusing, especially since this global pandemic, the civil unrest with racism, health disparity, and the like. We know that parks are the free connector that you're able to come out, get fit mentally, enjoy exercise. And so it's our role as professionals, park and rec professionals, to make sure that we're providing those amenities for them to be able to enjoy, and providing and creating those safe spaces for them. So, you know, we've focused on that. Of course, we know some of it's subjective, because, you know, wherever there's some decision of request from, you know, their particular leadership, then we look at those areas. But I'm glad that our team is really on the pulse of it and really thinking about providing just the same quality parks to wherever we're doing our footprint within the community.
You know, I noticed that. I happen to have the fortunate timing of seeing your parks and visiting with you in person, and I was amazed at how your parks are just, you're very equitable on trying to make sure and provide parks for all. So thanks again for those comments. Rick?
Thanks, Joe.
You know, we found that we've made some of our biggest gains during this period of the pandemic. We've been able to basically, like Alicia, use our master plan. We've also looked at our survey data, and we just basically take that stuff and we flipped it. You know, you always have baseball, football, you know, the big three, and basketball are your predominant sports, and we're a sports-oriented city. And we've really reached down to the lower levels. And like I said, sand volleyball court, we're now going to be lighting those because there's a huge need to be outside and be able to use those. So we've diverted resources from other places to be able to address some of those lower tier sports that don't get the recognition that some of the higher tier sports do. We've also gone back to our neighborhoods, you know, just like Alicia, and really you know, have made a bigger focus on what we're doing there. We've reallocated our personnel, our team members that were in rec centers that we shut down for short periods of time, and we sent them out in the field. It wasn't what they were used to, but they got to go out in the field and address every neighborhood that we really wanted to take a look at. In addressing those neighborhoods, we repainted, you know, barbecue grills. We put in new slats and benches and other things, but we were readdressing how we were using our resources. We also did other things like our trails. And if you guys don't have trail counters, they're worth their weight in gold, you know, because I was able to reallocate some of my folks when we saw our numbers go up and, you know, triple digits from where they normally were over time. So to be able to reallocate folks to help our park rangers, because we had more people on our trails to make sure that they were safe, they were being used correctly, and we helped keep them nice and neat for everybody. And then one of the other things that we did for the whole community that I thought was really unique for us is we ask all of our managers to reallocate some things. And we have a brush recycling center where our residents can bring in material after they clean their yards. And we found that everybody was working in their yard because they started bringing in all their brush. So we, in turn, decided to give out free mulch to everybody in the community. We hit over 100 neighborhoods. It became such a popular program that we would dump it in your front yard, basically in your front driveway. And we just got inundated every week because we hit a new neighborhood every week that we couldn't keep up with the demand. But we made sure that we hit over 100 neighborhoods in our community. And when we stopped the program, we got citizens telling us to keep it going. So it's just really taking those resources, finding a way to reallocate your folks, your team, to address all the needs. And we've been doing it from programming to sports, to you name it. And our community has loved it. And we've gotten rave reviews from them.
Folks, can you hear this? These people are fired up. And thank goodness we have you out there doing this job. Leaders, I mean, think about what we're all going through, but you're not letting anything stop you. I mean, you are hitting these challenges head on with your strained budgets, personnel situation. And I know there's a finite point. At one point, you can only go for so far. So we need to be in reality, but way to encourage our field. Thank you so much for those questions. Okay, we're at a time. Now we're going to our poll questions. So relax, panelists, for a minute, because I'm going to turn it over to Anne Marie.
Thanks, Jody. Yes, as we mentioned earlier, we like to involve you, our audience. So we have a couple of poll questions that we want to ask you now. And these are really great to give us some information about what's going on in parks around the nation. So if you can see that poll question, we'll give you all a few minutes to vote. And what we want to know is if you had to choose one of the following, which to be most important to help your parks department serve communities in our current situation, which would it be? Would it be evidence-based guidelines that provide consistent messaging and continuity for phased openings across your parks? Is it data that demonstrates the increased importance of parks as an essential service in promoting community health and vitality? Is it data to document the impact of expanded services offered during the pandemic to help us fund these new and emerging functions? Is it ways to align with schools to serve children and youth in learning and or after school programs? Or would it be marketing tools to help us share resources, successes, and programming? So if everybody in the audience would take a couple of minutes there to consider those, we're asking you to vote for just one. We'll have another question in just a minute that is multiple choice. I see some more votes coming in, so we'll give you a couple more minutes. And while everybody's voting, I just want to remind you also to use that Q&A function within Zoom to ask our panelists questions. We want you all to feel involved. We want you to be a part of the show. They are talking about some pretty amazing things that are going on in their departments, and we know you must have questions for them. So go ahead and put those down in the Q&A, and at the end, we will go ahead and ask those questions to the audience. So it looks like we've got, everybody has voted. So we're gonna end that poll, and we're gonna share the results with you. And it looks like overwhelmingly, and this is probably no surprise, data to demonstrate the increased importance of parks as an essential service in promoting community health and vitality was the top choice, with 39% of you voting. Close behind that, data to document the impact of the expanded services offered during the pandemic to help fund these new functions at 25%. So thank everybody for taking that poll. And we have one more we want to ask you here. So let's go ahead and launch this. This is a multiple choice question. So which of the following are you employing to maintain physical distancing at your parks? Choose as many as are applicable. Is it park patrol staff? Are you using signage? Online educational efforts with your public? Modifications to your park infrastructure? Or reductions in parking spaces? We know that there are probably a lot of folks that are using multiple of these. So go ahead and check as many as apply. And again, I see another question coming in, so please remember to ask those questions of our panel. If you're done voting, go ahead and think what you might want to ask them and enter that down in that Q&A tab so that we can ask those questions to them at the end. Okay, looks like everybody has voted. It's slowed down. A couple more people here. Let's give them just another couple seconds to answer if you want to answer this question. And we'll go ahead and share the results with you now. So signage, looks like almost everybody is using signage to let people know about physical distancing at your park. Online educational efforts, that's really interesting, and we would love if you would share more. At the end of the show, we'll send out a survey to everybody. We'd love to learn more about those online educational efforts and what you're doing. And how you're doing that, because that can be a lot of different things. So we'd love to get some more details from all of you that we can share out afterwards. And then modifications to park infrastructure, patrol staff, and parking space reduction, respectively. So thank you all so much for taking part in our poll. We absolutely appreciate that. Love that you're involved and active with us today. And with that, I'm going to give it back to Jody.
Sounds great. Thank you all for your input, because again, this all feeds into future shows and relevancy that we use to make sure that we're on top of the trends and where we're going in our country. Question 3, panelists, here we go. What are the new collaborative partnerships, private or public? Private or public? This is gaining so much momentum from the standpoint you've had these partnerships in the past with private industry. What we're seeing and what we heard from our past show is, like in San Diego, they're actually engaging in more private business, even working and moving into some of the park areas where they might have a deficiency with offering the service, or really, they just don't have the personnel anymore. So Brian Albright was very forthright in saying, we're seeking these type of partnerships more than ever. But what are those overall collaborative partnerships? Because we're addressing this several times on the show on purpose, because they're ever changing. Each month we're hearing different types of partnerships coming through you all. So there's new ideas. What we would like to know is also, how is this helping you operate maybe better or a little bit different? So again, there's a little twist to it. Alicia, let's start with you.
Well, Jody, we know that traditionally recreation has been underfunded. That's my humble opinion. And when there are time for budget reductions, that's the first department or one of the first departments that are being requested to make those reductions. And especially we've been impacted, I believe colleagues across the states have been impacted by COVID in our staffing levels. Parks in itself in Wayne County has had a staff reduction of 25% since March. So we're working with 17 less people of our 68. But they're still committed to doing that work. But in that, we've had partnerships and sponsorships with our events. As I mentioned earlier, we don't have recreation centers, but we've done those partnerships and working in sponsorships with our special events, but also to assist us with additional focus projects that we may not have the time to pay great detail to. So not new, but we definitely have increased our volunteerism in our park. If without a number of great volunteers who've been able to maintain and help us recreate some biking trails and natural trail systems, maintain waterways, or even just maintaining the aesthetics of flower beds around some of our destination facilities or parks, or even around our comfort stations. Having that additional help has supported us and what we can do and retool our team to look at the more focused priority areas that we need to address. But it's all been a challenge, but again, without those partnerships, we would not be able to do certain things or present our parks in a certain level. We've also have increased our permitting or linking up with those fitness instructors or those small business fitness companies. Governor Whitmer, our governor from Michigan, encouraged everyone from the start of the shelter-in-place pandemic to get out to your parks and enjoy your parks. So of course, like my colleagues, we've seen an increase in the use of our parks. And from that, part of that is to try to offer that connection of fitness and health. So while you're out enjoying that, you can partner up with those entities that we're permitting to provide those fitness instructions in our park. And something we've done traditionally for well over 20 plus years before I'm even there, is probably more than that. But on Saturdays in our park, Hines Park is 17 miles of linear park. We close 6 of those miles on Saturdays from 9 to 3:30, where vehicular traffic are unable to access the road. So people are able to freely park, run, bike, whatever they choose to do, walk. And so we've been linking that in again with our outdoor connections, our activity bags for children in order to be able to get out and enjoy the park space. So again, we're talking about reimagining, but not definitely new partnerships. I think just expanding them even more to get things done what we'd like to have done within our park system.
You make a great point here, because you're opening opportunities to take it even closer to the people. It doesn't have to be the standard thinking of this is a permanent park. You're actually making more and more space available for recreation and healthy activity. So that is excellent to know. And we've all done some of that over the years, but you're intentionally addressing it. So that is excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Okay, let's move to Rick.
All right, I think we're doing a lot of the same things that Alicia are doing, and really it's encouraging folks to get out into our parks. We typically have a process that a lot of our individuals have to go through to utilize our parks. Since the pandemic, we pretty much suspended that process. So we've got groups like the Orange Theories of the world that have moved their programs out into our parks to sustain those businesses in our community. So trying to make sure that those individuals still had the ability to maintain an income and do things, and that was important to us. We've also seen, other partnerships that we've seen that are truly valuable that we didn't use before were those with like learning centers. We have brought them into our, to our after school programs, even into our programs when we had the, employees' kids, so that we were able to have, certified teachers teaching our kids during that time that they weren't in school, trying to make sure that we had the credibility that went along with our program, so they felt comfortable that their kids were learning and continuing to be guided in a positive direction. We've also continued that relationship as we get ready to go back to school. Those same facilities are going to be coming in, after school. They're going to be coming into our all-day camps, and they're going to be providing those services. We know that a lot of parents are stressed when they have to be at home and teach their kids. So we're making that adjustment to our programs to make it more of a certified program. And we've gotten rave reviews about those things as well. And I'll tell you, one of the other partnerships that really played a key role in our community when this thing really hit is we always do a flashlight Easter egg hunt, and we knew we couldn't do that Easter egg hunt the way we wanted to this year. So we decided to partner with our local chamber who was raising money for businesses. And we decided that we weren't going to take the money back to our general fund. We asked everybody that, that would participate in that event, if they would shift those resources and that fee to be part of that Easter egg hunt to the Chamber of Commerce so it could be given to local businesses. They saw a significant increase in the week that we did that prior to the Easter egg hunt. And we just got rave reviews for going back to try and help our community stay strong vitality and make sure that we kept businesses in place. And the chamber director himself came back and wanted to thank our team personally. And those are the kind of relationships and partnerships that we hadn't typically done. But as they say, it takes a village, and we want to make sure that our community stays strong together, and that we're doing anything and whatever the collaborative partnership it is, we're going to make sure that it works for our community. And those are the things that we've reached out. But we continue to do the basic sponsorships and the other things. We're looking at ways to make sure that we maintain a strong community, and those are the partnerships that we've been going after recently.
Well, you made a good point, because really the businesses need to be successful, because vice versa, they're supporting you, and you
Absolutely.
want those to exist long term. We know that businesses are going away. We know there's challenges there, but I'll tell you what you're doing is you're making sure that the industry, a private industry, is working with your public system. Very smart on your part. Inger, let's go to you. What's Phoenix doing?
So I don't know if we've got anything that's necessarily brand new. I think what we're doing is using our partnerships in different ways, right? So we have partnerships with Daring Adventures, for example, is one group. And so we're boosting out their information through our social media and other ways. And again, trying to connect people. AARP gave us money for a fitness program that then we couldn't do, obviously, in person. And so we did it virtually. We have more people virtually than we ever did have coming down to the actual park. And so it's given us an opportunity to expand some of the things that we've done in the past. And I think, some of our art programs as well. We've been able to, we partner with a nonprofit that runs some of our art programs, and they've been able to, again, put things kind of cross-market, if you will, our programs, their programs. And so that's really been where we've seen the difference. We have a program called Code Phoenix, and again, it's getting coding to kids that maybe wouldn't have access to it, and it's free. And again, we've been able to partner with a nonprofit there to get that program out there as well. So I think it's really more enhancing some of the things we've done in the past versus maybe creating some new things in the last 5 months. And again, it's a little bit more difficult when most of your stuff is closed down. But using our staff to help the maintenance staff, a lot of our after school programs, again, partnering in a different way, right? They were able to do some maintenance tasks, again, painting, things that we don't sometimes get to. And so it's been a morale booster for the maintenance team, but it also has opened up some opportunities for part-time employees to maybe get full-time jobs in the future because they've got some experience now. And so I think that's been a big benefit too, because many of our part-time individuals that work for us for 20, 30 years, right? And sometimes they want that opportunity to go full-time, and they've never thought about it until now. So I think there's been some really good morale boosting things that have happened because of some of the circumstances as well. And so, those are the kinds of things that we've been doing.
Inger, we'll come back to this if we have time at the end about the morale and how you're motivating and others are motivating the staff at this time. It's kind of exciting to hear you doing that, even with not only enhancing your current partnerships, but the cross-training and exposing staff to understanding what the other areas of your department are doing. Especially, I can't even imagine in your department, it's such a large department to manage, and you're all over the place as far as, providing services for millions. So again, that's enlightening. That's good to hear that you've done that. And I know, Alicia and Rick, you're doing the same thing. I mean, people are cross-referencing left and right to provide the best service you can. But those partnerships, I tell you, it's going to be interesting to see when we come out of this, where we're at and what we look like, and how many more people will be involved with our park systems besides participating, just supporting our systems. So there's a bright future ahead in that aspect. Okay, now this is one of the most exciting part of the show. We are going to recognize your departments, but your key people and what you've done, and people that have gone way beyond the call of duty. And Anne-Marie, please lead us through this segment of the show.
Yeah, so let's do it. This is seriously such a fun aspect of the show. And we call it Good News in Parks, about great people, right? So it ties into what we're doing here. Thanks to Playcorn Game Time. We really appreciate the support. And, as Jody said, there is some amazing stuff, and it does take a village. And so we always ask our panelists to tell a little bit about their team. And so we're going to go ahead and start with Alicia. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the Wayne County Parks team that you want to recognize?
Thank you, Anne-Marie. As I've mentioned several times, I would not be able to do my job without this fantastic team. I am blessed to work with them every day. I'm led by my deputy director, David Cartwright, and a number of department managers, Ray Glenn, Elizabeth Isler, Kim Healy, Gloria Weems, and our number of foremen, and our design team, our recreation naturalists. They make it happen every day. And this is not all of them. This is just a portion of them. But again, I mentioned our maintenance team. They're dedicated to make sure that we're providing clean, safe parks to the residents. Our design team and our recreation team are key in programming and providing those wonderful park amenities that we're able to offer on a daily basis. And then our staff, our administrative staff, that just supports to make sure that we're doing things and getting those things done correctly and making sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. Again, I mean, they have been outstanding, especially during this pandemic, but prior to that, and they deserve accolades on a daily basis. I would not be able to do the things that I'm able to achieve within the park system and on the national level without the tremendous support and assist from these key individuals who their expertise and go-to-itness that I admire daily.
That's awesome, Alicia. It looks like a fantastic team. And so thank you, Wayne County Parks team, for everything that you do. From all of us here at Good News in Parks. That's really awesome. So next we are going to go to Inger. Whoops, I'm so sorry. Go back there. Who's going to talk about the park ranger team at Phoenix.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. So again, as I had mentioned earlier, we have 40 trailheads that are the actual trailheads, and we have people that create their own trailheads, as we all know. But over 200 miles worth of trails in that system, in really spread across our 500 plus square miles in the city of Phoenix. But this ranger team has grown over the years. They were a large number of like 80. They were cut down to about 40, and then we built them back up over the years again through the Parks Preserve Initiative Fund. And and they're back up to their normal number of 80 back in 2008. They do a wide variety of things. As I mentioned, we've had 113% increase in trail use. So the numbers are, last year at the same time, 1.8 million people had used the trails. This year, we're over 3.8 million using the trails. And again, that helps with, it's free opportunities for anyone to hike. And so there's social equity there. Some of the pictures here, South Mountain in the lower left-hand corner, that's an old rock building that was built by the Conservation Corps back in the day. South Mountain Park is approaching 100 years old. And so in the next few years, we'll be celebrating that. And then just the final thing that I'll say is down there in the lower corner with the parade, you can see they participate in our parades. They're just really dedicated individuals, and they work in the hot heat all the time. And so, you know, I just want to say kudos to them, but there's so many other people in our department that, you know, obviously you can't mention them all. And right now I have an acting director in the department since I got this recent promotion to deputy city manager. And I want to recognize her, Tracy Hall, who's making sure that everything is staying in the right direction while I am doing this position. So I want to say thank you. And again, we have so many people in the city of Phoenix who are so important to making sure that Phoenix is the great place to live, visit, and play.
That's awesome. And congratulations on those milestones and a great looking team. And thank you, Phoenix Park Ranger team, from all of us as well. Okay, Rick, take it away. Tell us about the Round Rock Parks team.
All right. I have a tremendous team, and as everybody has said, you know, it doesn't get done by the director. It gets done. Everything gets done at a different level. You know, from my team over at the rec center, my senior center, out in my programs, the lifeguard teams that's out in our water park, and then you know, our team of folks that went out and as this pandemic went on. And really started to encourage and engage with the community, as you'll see them up there delivering Meals on Wheels. So I've had my department just reassume and reimagine and do different things that they never thought they would be doing as part of their daily task or routine. And they have done a tremendous job. But the one that I really want to focus on a little bit more to you guys is going to be that picture in the top center. And you see all those individuals wearing black shirts. And, you know, that's my All-American team. Each year I have an All-American team, and to make my All-American team, you have to do something special for the community. You have to do something special for the department, and you have to stand out. Somebody has to come to me and said, this individual did this thing. Those are the individuals that have done something that have made our department what it is in our community this year. And whether it's been a letter, whether it's save a life at the swimming pool, whether it's do things on a national level and win an award, when that happens, I recognize those team members with a black All-American team shirt, and they get to wear that shirt anytime they want to during the day. You know, typically we dress very professional, and on Fridays you can wear casual attire. When they earn that shirt, they can wear it whenever they want to, and it's a way of saying thank you, a way of saying thank you for impacting our community. And I want the community to recognize those guys as All-American and All-Stars in my organization. While we have a great organization and you win national championships as a team, you still have rock stars that stand out. And this year I had 23 of them, and they did a fantastic job of making our community what it is, special. And this is the way they get recognized in our community. So for those guys and my whole team, thank you for what you do for the city. But for my All-American team, thank you for going above and beyond.
That's awesome. And we echo those thanks. And that's such a cool program, Rick. I mean, I love it that one, that you have that way to stand out, and two, you have 23 people that achieve this. And that, you know, that speaks to your leadership and the efforts of your team. And that's absolutely awesome. So thanks so much for sharing that. I think that's really great. So we're going to go ahead and go back and take a few questions now from our audience. And we can see that the audience has been really active. We have a lot of questions to choose from here. So that's fantastic. So we're going to try to get to as many as we can, and we'll go ahead and jump right in. And I love this one. To the panel, what types of new professional positions do you see coming out of the pandemic that don't currently exist in your organization? For example, will you add a professional to lead your virtual offerings or just add this responsibility to each programmer? So that's a really interesting question. So let's go ahead and start with you, Alicia. What do you think on that one?
So as I mentioned, we had a team of really 4 naturalists that provided our programming. We're at 1 now. So we've been doing some virtual programming. And so they've just assumed that responsibility because, again, they understand the importance to try to keep the educational naturalist piece at the forefront of the community. So keeping that engaged in this other format. So that really is a responsibility of retweaking that they're not having on-site programming, more people within our Nankin Mills facility or at our Cross Winds Interpretive Marsh. So that is just being transitioned over to that individual opposed to creating another position for that specific duty to carry forward.
Yeah, that's great. Inger, how about you?
So I think it depends, especially on the virtual piece of it. If people have the expertise to do that, I think when we originally started doing our virtual programming, we thought it was going to be easier than it was. And so we really had to adjust and do it a little bit differently than we thought we were going to. And, even the separation of people and all sorts of things. And so if there's someone, and we find this all the time, right? If there's someone who has those kinds of skills, then yes, obviously you'd take them from within. But if not, you might have to recruit for a different position. And we found that we've got someone in our public information office who really has, it was a coordinator and took that person and made him a public information specialist and has really enhanced the visual appearance of our department through our website and our picture taking and all sorts of things. And so sometimes there's someone in your department who understands that and has the best of both worlds. And sometimes you don't, and you have to bring that person in from or create a different position. So I think it really just depends on the situation.
Right. Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point that it's also a really good way to kind of discover rock stars within your department that may have skills that you didn't know about and are able to harness and use in new ways. So that's really cool. Rick, how about you?
From the virtual standpoint, we actually have a marketing department with several people in it, and they've done a tremendous job. And I think what we've discovered during this time and where we're going to see some shift is we are such a sports-oriented community. We bill ourselves as the sports capital of Texas. But what we found during this pandemic is we are really lacking on the passive space. And I think it's going to be a series of positions that go to really dealing with passive space, just making places where people can have a picnic in the park and truly just lay on the lawn and enjoy what's going on. Some of the detailed things from beautification in some of those higher trafficked areas where people just want to sit out, read a book, or get on Wi-Fi in the park. And I think that's the bigger thing that we picked up out of this. We've got fields. We've got a lot of them. We always need a few more and some more park space, but we really need that passive space for those that really like passive recreation.
Right. I love that. And I love that you know that about your community and, you're really kind of paying attention to what people are doing and what they may need. And so that's really great.
Anne-Marie,
yeah, go ahead, Jody.
I'd like to make a comment on it. This is so interesting that we're addressing this question because years ago, I put out a questionnaire, total voluntary questionnaire to the staff in general when I was director. And I asked them, I said, if you'd like to just voluntarily, just tell us other skills you may have that you might want to be involved with aspects of our department and different things. I actually found a top level announcer that we needed to announce for us for our World Team Tennis professional tennis team that we had with the World Team Tennis, Billie Jean, and the professional sports industry. I would have never found this person if I had not asked those questions. So it's amazing how it can circle back to find out, like a pandemic puts you into this position, or if you go out and just ask people, hey, they may have acquired a skill you have no idea. This person was with our department over 20 years, and here they are. They're a professional announcer, and I had no idea. And guess what? They ran our fleet management. So you never know what you might find within your department. Anyway, thank you for that time.
Yeah, no, that is a great observation, and it's actually a fantastic segue into our next question, because it also involves, you know, the pandemic and what it's meant and how it's changed. And I love the way it's set up because it's all so true. Parks are clearly one of the gems and hidden treasures in society. And it is interesting that it took a global pandemic for that to really be recognized. So true, right? In many of our areas, the parks are seeing more traffic than ever before, and people are really noticing the impact it has on their health and well-being. That's a positive. So how can we grow this into a longer-term culture in our country to get outside in parks? And second part of the question, are there other allies outside of parks and recreation related partners that we can tap into? Inger, you want to start with that one?
Sure. Yeah, so I think, you know, we really have to make sure we tell our story. I mean, we don't do that very well sometimes. And I think shows like this are a good starting point. You know, I think often we think everybody knows, or we assume people know. And so we have to do a really good job of marketing our information and how the pandemic did impact people and how lives were changed potentially because of the positive impact that the Parks and Recreation departments have had and the open space has had on individuals. Can you imagine if we had not allowed people to come into the parks, even though we took away some of the amenities? Could you imagine how difficult that would be? And again, I've mentioned several times, it's really hot here in Phoenix, and we don't have any pools open. Now, some of the other cities around, they did open their pools, but we didn't have any pools, and it's, you know, we had to find other ways to keep people hydrated and cooled and respite and things of that nature. And so, you know, I really think it's that, you know, telling our story, making sure we show people 113% isn't just in Phoenix, it's everywhere, right? And how much more the facilities that were available were used, because those were the kinds of things people needed to do for sanity, for mental health, for all sorts of things. So I really think that's it. We have to find a way to package a story and get it out there so that people understand that it happened in every single community across the United States and across the world, quite honestly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes perfect sense. So on the part of the question about other allies, maybe health professionals that can help us with facts and information, anyone else that you can think of that might be helpful in that we haven't thought of before?
Yeah, you know, I think it's universities, right? Because a lot of the universities, and right here in downtown Phoenix, we've got ASU, we've got Grand Canyon University just to our west. And so we've got a lot of, and they're looking for things also that come out of the pandemic as well. And so I think partnering with universities, colleges, and various schools that can do that research, and also they do so well on packaging things and selling their schools, right? They can help us sell Parks and Recreation too, I think.
Yeah, that's great. Rick, what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I think Ingrid hit on some really good things. I think it's keeping the people we have. You know, we've got them in our parks right now in droves, and we've got to keep them there. And that means the partnerships with the local businesses have to be maintained. So we've got to find a way, instead of pushing Orange Theory out of our parks, of bringing them back in. Then we have to go back to the decision makers and really get them to see what has happened in our community and get them to buy in, and get those business leaders as well as those citizens to become champions that influence those council members that say, spend the dollars where they need to be spent. Because you and I know that we typically go off those master plan, those surveys, or 3-4 things, and then that's where the money will go. We have to be able to say, hey, we need to spend equally. We need to do things in a diverse manner. And we need to make sure that our crown jewels are seen that way. And the decision makers, the businesses, and the influencers are the key to make that happen. And we can't let them say, hey, we forgot about what happened in 2020 because now it's 2021 and we're off to something else. Our parks are vital. That's where people are coming. That's the only place that they could go. And we need to maintain that these guys understand that we're going to be here during this situation. We're going to be here after the situation, and you need to fund us. That's what needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And, you know, I think if everybody is thinking this way, and across all of us, you know, here and in the audience and worldwide that manage parks and work for parks are thinking that way, I mean, it is such a collective force, and so much proof and information that we have and can gather on, how beneficial parks are, and so excited. And it's terrible that it took a pandemic for that to happen. But now that it has happened, you're absolutely right. We need to keep that momentum going. Alicia, what would you like to add?
Just the same as Inger and both Rick has said, telling our story better, but definitely linking up with our decision makers. And as we know, it took this pandemic to get people to drive them out to our park system. So definitely telling our story, but also with our key, having that key decision makers, your leadership, understanding the importance of parks. And I'm grateful that our county executive, Warren Evans, for Wayne County, does that. So he champions parks. He's a great outdoorsman. So he, in turn, looks to see how he can support us. We serve 43 communities with our own focused park system, but some of the individuals, and this couldn't have been the perfect timing during this time, because our park millage just recently passed last week. Over 80% voted yes to our park millage. So we're able to do those things. It's testament to our staff, it's testament to our county exec who supports park system, but it's also, as Rick and Inger both said, linking up with those businesses, those health industries, walk with a doc. We've done those type of things where you're writing prescriptions to get out to your park and enjoy your park. So just taking those key level partnerships to really further promotion. And marketing is key. We've done our new branding with our parks logo, and it's explore even more. So making sure that, people are thinking about when they want to get out and do something, that they need to go into their Wayne County parks or their Rock River parks or into the Phoenix parks in order to get out and enjoy things, and making just more opportunities accessible to them. I think that is key. We're hoping that a pandemic, and not just shutting down everyone from the busyness, will understand the importance and the benefit that they enjoy during this time of being out in the parks and just taking in that fresh air and just being able to run and walk freely and just take that time to focus on their mental and well-being.
Absolutely. I mean, as you think of this term that we keep hearing, the new normal, I think if there's a positive about it, the fact that people are getting out and caring about their health and realizing, that in stressful times, you need to do something for your health, and that the parks are there. And it's such an easy thing to go out and enjoy that. And, here the space has been here for us all along, and we're finally recognizing it. Jody, I'm going to put you on the spot on this one because you have a ton of experience in Springfield Green and Missouri. And I know that you have some great insight that you can provide on this one as well.
Well, I'm so inspired by this group to hear this, but we've got such a great future ahead of us. We may be challenged on this, but, if anything I see coming out of this is I think it's also helping us individually to look at ourselves inside, bring our passion back out. What I am seeing is inspired by this group. You will be bonded forever now that you've been together. But what I'm seeing is the passion inspiring our systems, our citizens, our public officials. I don't think there's anything stopping us. Yes, we'll have time that we'll have to recover. We know that. But I think we are going to come through with a whole new look. I kind of like it that we've been put back in that place of going back to basics. And I don't think that's hurt us. And I don't even think it's hurt us in some ways to take a pause in our lives. So I have heard over and over from you as leaders that we have gone back and reevaluated. We are looking towards the future. And I think we've got a bright future ahead. And I can tell you from my experience, this is going to obviously be everlasting on all of us and our families and everything. But I'm going to tell you, I think we are up to the task, and that's what I'm hearing from all of these professionals. And I want to leave you too, as we close out the show and we start working towards the end of the show, think about this, panelists, and I hope that our audience will listen and think about this. What have you learned about yourself during this pandemic? I hope that you will give that input to us through your evaluation. But panelists, I would really like to know, what have you learned about yourself? You are so experienced, you're so sharp, you're on top of the call of duty. but what have you learned? And Anne Marie, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask that question of our panelists.
I think it's a fabulous question.
Anyone can start.
Oh,
Inger?
boy.
Inger, why don't you start, and then I'll just go around the screen.
So I've learned, I guess I've learned that I had to develop patience. I was, you know, we put a plan together that we wanted to open some of our facilities, and you know, we didn't get it through. And again, I think looking back, that was the wisest decision in our community because of the rate of spread, et cetera. That was the right decision, and we didn't open some of our facilities. But I had to learn patience, I think, and you know, I had a couple of big trips that were planned for my personal vacations that I had to put on hold for another year. And so patience, I think, would be the thing that I had to learn this year. And again, I'm not really generally a patient person. And as I get towards the later part of my career versus the beginning of my career, I understand the value and the importance of that, because I really did have to take some time to take the opportunity to really develop more of my personal relationships with family and friends. And I found that they're more valuable to me than maybe I even had allowed myself to think in the past. So I'm going to say patience and the value of family and friends and the time that we have.
Excellent. Alicia?
Yeah, I think I learned during this time that although I'd like to, I can't control everything. and to be okay with that, and just to be okay with that. It has been, as you know, you've been, especially shelter in place, you have time to just kind of do a lot of self-reflection. And I also had good bonding time with my husband, so I was glad to have that time to do that. But I think really you can't control everything. Like Inger said, you know, had some major trips going on, but I can't control it. So I have to figure out something else to do to make sure that we're taking care of just our mental health and making sure we're able to relax. So, but usually when I can't control things, there's a level of frustration. And I think I've got to the place where, okay, then okay, I think that's where I got, and I'm really proud of myself for getting there right now.
Wonderful. It'll just make you better. It'll make you better.
Sure will.
Rick, it's your time.
You know, I think what I've learned is adaptability. And, you know, as recreational professionals, you know, we never let anybody see us sweat. We always pull it off. We make things happen. But for us, you know, here in Texas, we didn't miss a day of work. Everybody was here. We never sent anybody home. So for us, it was, you know, the term we always use is we're playing by somebody else's rules. We're going to still play the game, but we're playing by somebody else's rules. So we adapted. We took, as I told you, we took folks out of rec centers and reassigned them, and they went out to the fields and they stained fences and painted gates. And, you know, we made huge gains during this time. But it's, I also learned how strong my team is, because not once did they complain. Not once did they say they weren't essential servants. Not once did they say we don't want to do this or we want to go home. They just said, boss, what are we doing next? And where you want us to go? And that adaptability has permeated not just me, but my team and their culture. So that adaptability is key.
You know, Rick, you not only adaptability, but just the flexibility of turning again, and I mentioned it earlier, turning on that dime so quickly and being able to deal with impromptu situations that just all of a sudden they're there in front of you. But one thing and Anne-Marie, you give us some input. What have you found out about yourself? You know, you've been in this field a long time, and you've been around and seen departments all over the country. What have you found out about yourself with the pandemic?
Flexibility, definitely. I've learned some things about my team and the things that they can do. You know, we talk about people shifting and doing different things. We've had to relook at the way we do a lot of different things and how we can serve people better. And we've jumped right in and figured out what those things are, like putting the show together and bringing together our colleagues in Park and Rec so that they can talk and learn from one another. And You know, I think there's a lot of negativity, obviously, about this pandemic, but I think it's been a great opportunity to really kind of get back to grassroots and understand that all things are possible if you have a great team and some good ideas.
Well, I've been writing because I'm learning too while you all are giving us speaking and giving us your passion. Your passion is so strong, and we needed that. We need that encouragement. But your perspective on just how to approach the future. You've given several aspects of the way to approach motivation of your employees and also keep your departments running at a high level with a very in strife budget situation. It's been an amazing education today. So we really appreciate that. And then just finally, you know, you were picked as leaders because you're leaders in the country. But you're very grounded and you're very approachable, and your leadership styles are amazing. So I just want to say to all of you, thank goodness we have you in the field right now, because we need you. We need you bad, and you have risen to the occasion and keep doing that over and over. Anne Marie.
Well, let's talk about next week. As you know, we are working really hard to have a great audience and a great panel for everybody. And we want to talk to you a little bit about next week's panel. And we're pretty excited to be having these folks with us again for August 27th, again, always at 1 p.m. Eastern. And the title for our next episode will be A Plan for Progress. So we're really excited about that. As always, I know a lot of you have signed up for every episode, so thank you for that support. That's absolutely awesome. But if you just decided to give it a try today, we hope that you liked it. And we'll register again at playcorps.com/events. Look for Good News in Parks there. And you can also learn about other events and educational CEU opportunities that we have available. We will be following up this episode with a survey for you. And for those who submit that survey, you'll also receive a certificate of completion that you can use for CEUs. That's another aspect of the show that we want to, you know, we're all learning here, and so we should get credit for that learning. And because we like to cascade out learning in so many different ways, you can go to playcorps.com/resources for some of our other research and information that's there. But next week, look at these powerhouses. I mean, every week Jody pulls this panel together, and I think, gosh, you know, what is she going to do next week? And look at these fantastic people. We have Michael McCarty, who's the Executive Director for the Glenview Park District. He's the President-elect of the American Academy of Park and Rec Administrators. He's the past chair for the National Revenue Management and Development School Board of Regents. Dr. Shonda Smith, another powerhouse in the industry, director of the City of Mobile Parks and Recreation. She's on the NRPA Congress Program Committee. She has been for several years, and on the NRPA Magazine Advisory Board. And then finally, Michael Shull, who is the general manager of Los Angeles Park and Recreation in Los Angeles, on the City Parks Alliance Board of Directors, and one of the administrators for the Social Equity Partnership with the LA 28 Olympics. So a lot of work going on there, I'm sure. And you know, finally, we just want to thank our guests. So Jody,
Best.
Go for it, girl.
The best of the best.
Absolutely, absolutely. So raise a toast, cheer, Good News in Parks. It's been super exciting learning from you. The learning that we get from our board of people is just, it blows me away every week what I learn from you folks and your passion and your dedication to providing services to communities. And, you know, I like to think that for the folks who come on later and watch these shows who maybe aren't in our industry, the learning that they can get about all the different ways that Park and Rec serves people. It's so much more than parks. It's so much more. And so we thank you for that. We thank you, our audience, for joining us, and we hope to see you next time on Good News in Parks. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.